Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we're going to be talking about the one and only Kaspa coin. Now, look, man, we have absolutely been dumping, right? We have been dumping. But if you know anything and have been following the channel for the last couple of days, you know that I've been saying that a dump is expected. Now, before we dive into the CASP analysis, let me explain to you why a dump was expected. Number one, Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin. So here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. This is classic manipulation, right? The week before, we pumped up. We took out the last weekly highs. We took them out, right? The all-time highs. We took them out. I bet you a lot of people got stopped out that were trying to either a short and they got wrecked. People that had break even positions that were just bears and thinking the market's going to die, right? They got hit break even or they got hit their stop loss. And people that were buying here are now getting wrecked, right? Because they probably went based off impulse and not the data. Okay, so we can see that that happened. Then we can see that we were expecting a sell-off candle. Why? Because global liquidity, right? Global liquidity is something I've been talking about on this channel a lot. And we can see, right, we have been overall trending up with global liquidity, but we kind of have a decent sharp dip. But guess what? When we take that sharp dip and we pull it out, it is 91 days. I might think, why is that, relevant? Well, because the last bottom, if you go to last red candle, was 91 days. If you go to the top before things dumped, it was 91 days. And what do you also notice? What do you notice about these 91 days candles? And yes, don't worry, I'll get to Casper in just a second. But what do you notice about this? Guys, every time we had like the last green candle or the last red candle, the start of the next candle actually took out the liquidity, right? It actually took out the liquidity and then reversed, right? We sold off for like that Monday, Tuesday, and then boom, we start pumping. Guess what? Before we officially start dumping, guess what? We take out these highs, right? We take out these weekly highs by going up and then we fake out. So what do I expect? Well, I expect Bitcoin to close somewhere, let's just say even at the bottom of, 101,000 more or less, right? It's going to close there. And then I expect Monday or Tuesday to still pull down a little bit more, but then I expect very aggressive recoveries because we can see global liquidity is going to be pumping heavily, generally speaking, up until this point up here. If we go out here, that is 91 days later, it is going to be around mid-July, right? So what does that mean for Kaspa? Overall, with Kaspa, I expect now, right, which is Saturday, until Tuesday, overall to still be fairly red, okay? Overall to be still fairly red. But after that, I expect things to start really turning around. Okay. Now I did call out a few buy areas, in the community. And I think I even called out one here on the channel where we're talking about, this nice weekly candle, which yes, it did get smashed, but we're also talking about like, hey, there's also this, big massive support and resistance here, just dollar cost averaging into very, very nice areas, right? You don't always have to snipe the actual bottoms. Now here, ladies and gentlemen, look, this might look scary. It might, but you have to remember that this is actually bullish. We are still bullish because if we just even do simple fundamentals of high and lows and higher highs and higher lows, right? We can see that we have a bottom, we have a top, right? We have this top of the green candle in terms of where we closed, right? Boom. And yes, although we are going to end red on this month, we are still somewhere going to close above this area, which what does that mean, right? That means we are staircasing upwards. We are staircasing upwards. And with Bitcoin's global liquidity expecting to manipulate and start pumping next week, right? What do we expect? Well, for Kaspa and other coins to follow, right? Right? So what's the furthest we should go down? What's the absolute furthest? Well, probably maximum between 8 cents and I would say like 7.5 is being extremely generous. Just tapping into this monthly institutional candle before going up. But that is like the absolute lowest. And we can also see that is technically also the support and resistance, but it's just a little further down, right? Because, I did have it up a little higher, right? Like this. but it could go a little lower, right? Just something like that. For me to tell you the exact reversals, I would have to see how this weekly candle closes. I would have to see the manipulation next week for Bitcoin and then call out the literal bottom to reverse. But I don't have that data yet. But more or less, we should be looking to be, going possibly to 8 cents. And that's where I'm going to play it very, very aggressively. Okay. Because we can see even historically, right? Here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, on the monthly, it's crazy. It is crazy. But look, technically, right, we have these bottoms, right? Just teach you something very simple about trading. And these are higher bottoms. And yes, it would take 2 months for it to play out. So it's always scary in the moment. But what do you notice? This low, right, is the lowest point. This low is higher, right? And it's the same thing with this. When we pumped up and we went back down for 2 months, technically, this low of this monthly candle, you guessed it, is higher than the one here. So we have been just trending up. And we can see, sometimes we have in a very aggressive red candle. All right, that seems like, oh, it's all over. But in the next month, it's green, right? So that's kind of what I expect to be happening. Um, Next month, I expect June to be a very, very bullish month for us. I expect for us to overtake these candles, definitely 13 cents. And by the end of June, I would not be surprised if we finally take out this liquidity up here, and we're going to be chilling somewhere around the 16 to 17 cents, preparing for Kaspa to be exploding. Now, Kaspa's main time to explode is going to be when altcoin dominance starts really ripping, right? We can see I have some notes over here that says, look, the moment BTC topped out was when alts started to be in control and started to rise very, very nicely. And we can see, right, if we actually go to the weekly, because this is how I did it, right? Once we had that doji candle and we slammed down, right? When BTC was going sideways for a few weeks, alts were preparing for altcoin season. So we can see, right? If I actually just take a nice big arrow, this big red arrow that's on my screen, right? So this was the start of the reversal. When this dropped, altcoins pumped up a decent amount, right? Maybe like they doubled or even tripled. That, the context is different for each coin, but the point is they already rose a lot, and people were like, "Whoa, this is amazing." And then they're going selling off a little bit, going up a little bit, but more or less ranging, right? So if they went up 6x, then they maybe went back down to 3x, and they're just going between 3 and 6x, consistently going sideways. And then, once this started to happen, altcoins really were already at its peak. And then they created new peaks for 4 to 6 weeks. Now, each coin usually just does only 4 weeks. But since every coin has a little bit of a different timer, right? The whole cycle's, this whole moment's kind of like 6 weeks, more or less. But your altcoin already could have been, popping off here. And then by the time you got to the middle of altcoin season or Bitcoin dominance dropping, your altcoin already pumped, like it topped, right? That's why it's very important to make sure you only have a few coins and you follow every single one of them. So we can see, right? This was the main altcoin season. Like this is the hype of the hype. Just those 6 weeks, generally speaking. But we're not even done this phase right here, right? We are in this stage where we are looking, where we are recovering and looking to pump one more final time. And I can see, right? If we go and remove all the data, we can see that we are looking, right, to continue going up probably at least until this zone or even take out this high over here. And that's probably when we are going to just slam down and then go sideways again, right? So go up, slam down, go sideways, and then slam down further. So very, very simple. And that is when we expect Kaspa to pump, right? That's when we expect Kaspa to be pumping. Now, I can't tell you the exact date, but it is very, very likely that, based off global liquidity, ladies and gentlemen, which we still need more data, but luckily we are 91 days ahead, right? If we take the global liquidity, I know it is yellow right now, which I will just change it for you guys once again. It is just permanently stuck on yellow. I don't know how to make a thing, but we can see right now, right? We can see we have data up until we go 91 days out. 91 days out is right over here. So we have data until the end of August. So this might be from July, mid-July to August right now, might be the consolidation. This is where we might actually start reversing for altcoins and altcoins will start peaking, right? Because we can see actually the top of this is here, 91 days out is mid-July. So this might be when altcoins start breaking out, but obviously we need more data on global liquidity, right? to really show us, right? I do expect global liquidity to take a nice big pump. And if I see global liquidity being very, very extremely aggressive over the next couple months, that's probably when we are really going to be in the peak and prime of altcoin season. Now, I expected, altcoins to top out, late summer to early fall. We are probably going to get the timing right overall. The latest should be like late fall, but this year really should be the main pump. I would be really surprised if we drag it out until next year. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Kaspa is going to do well. I still expect Kaspa to do very well this cycle. Talked about it before. I think $1.70 is on the table no matter what. That is a very realistic price prediction, right? Which $1.70 is roughly going to be 20x more or less from here. So that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye. Portfolio reviews, economic and global updates and news, frequent up-to-date technical analysis, and a very supportive community. Sell and buy calls and trading education is provided. If that sounds good to you, now is the time to act. Once the markets start moving, there is no I should have, coulda, woulda. Now is the time. If you want to take things to another level, we have the blueprint that covers everything from A to Z in crypto that you need. No fluff, no bullshit, just the most important news, fundamentals, and technicals to have you succeed in these markets.